me? I don't need anyone. I don't need you!
Communication is everything.
Eventually we'll know what's going on here, but right now it's just distracting and hard to give a shit about when I just want to get back to the people that were literally just inside a whale.
Isn't that kind of the point? They insert these little clips as a sort of reprieve from the more intense and important storyline, which is kind of funny given what these interviews actually are.
Details are still emerging about the soup terrorists.
Newspo previously oning after the previous previously on news position and narration had who keeps writing this shit?
The screenwriters who purposefully put these elements in as a way of reminding the audience that this show is satirical. I explained this at least once during season 1, but the abundance of exposition through news broadcasts in this show is a way of poking fun at other superhero media.
No one can debate that New Yorkers owe their lives to the brave actions taken by Stormfront.
Your fake news doesn't know how to debate correctly.
And were you expecting them to? Dude, the only thing conservatives ever do is use rhetorical fallacies and pretend they have valid points while ignoring all contrary evidence.
Delivering liquid to someone's mouth hole with your feculent, draggled hand wieners.
Pointing things out on the screen.
I ever tell you about my recurring dream? I'm on stage.
Not giving someone a chance to lie and answer yes, so they don't have to listen to your stupid dream that no one cares about.
Hey, that's 2 in a row.
I found Becca, or at least our best guess where she is.
Telling someone you have the thing they care about most and then pausing before saying, well, actually, I'm just guessing.
And that's 3 in a row. Jesus Christ, are you going to bother doing anything of value, or are you just going to keep explaining what's happening?
I'm sorry. I can only hold a shape for so long before it really hurts.
And coincidentally, that amount of time is exactly the amount of time the writers thought we would buy this bullshit scenario.
Wait, the sin is for the writers making a shapeshifter return to his natural form at a time when they thought it would have some good impact on the audience? How the hell is that a sin? And what do you mean by bullshit scenario? Dude, we are literally dealing with magic here. How are you going to complain about things like this when the show is about superpowers? Sins like this are completely pointless because all of this shit is made up and all of it serves the purpose of the narrative.
Can we talk about Homelander's shoulder eagles for a second? Not only are those things ugly as sin, but they are completely impractical. HL would be catching those things on all sorts of stuff throughout his day and accidentally maiming his coworkers just by turning around near them.
It's an aesthetic choice by the costume designers. Sure, you may not subjectively like it, but others might. So what's your point?
Do you like an almond joy?
Removing the joy because you're allergic to almonds.
Removing the good content because you're allergic to quality.
Screens of this show are the bullshittiest bullshit to ever be shit out of a bowl. What even is all this mess, and how would it be helping anyone in this room in the slightest? The creators are like, just put a bunch of small stuff on there so the jerks over at TVS can't read it or sin it.
So you admit that you can't read it, which means you can't actually know whether or not it's bullshit, but then you still sin it? Look, you might argue that this was done as a joke, but seeing as it wasn't funny, I have to sin it.
So I have a second cousin who lives around there. I could tell Vought that I'm going to visit.
Tricking the most powerful company in the world with literal superheroes on its payroll with the old second cousin routine. Seriously, the amount of disbelief the show wants me to suspend just so Starlight and Huey can get some hang time together is astronomical.
How is that unbelievable, though? This might be the gishiest gallop that ever gish galloped. What does Vought being powerful and having superheroes on their payroll have to do with them allowing one of their employees to visit a family member? Does having a powerful staff automatically mean the company never lets anyone visit family? How does that make any sense? This sin relies on a massive leap of, well, I was gonna say logic, but there's no logic here whatsoever. So leap of faith works better.
The f is Vought for tots?
It's new fitness outreach for toddlers.
Being a new fitness outreach for toddlers instead of the long-awaited reveal about how they recruit babies into their soup development program.
What do you mean they haven't revealed how Vought's recruitment works? They may not have outright explained it, but it was implied. Do you seriously not remember the conversation between Annie and her mother about how Annie was given her powers? Come on, dude.
Good, you're here.
Because I came here to kick you out of the 7, and boy howdy, isn't it nice you just happened to be in the room and already discussing things because you also just happened to see Shockwave at the elevators.
Again, this show is satirical and is making fun of other superhero media. A very common trope in superhero media is convenient timing, so this show is mocking that trope.
We won't dare play the song because We Didn't Start the Fire might be powerful enough to force a sin removal. But these two falling in love against the backdrop of AIDS, crack, and Bernie Getz makes it seem like they're not actually hearing the lyrics.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Have you heard of the Lovers of Valdaro?
No, and I also forgot you were doing these weird zero context when Super Harry Met Sally interview cut-ins, so I'm all different sorts of confused right now.
Discount Jeremy double dips cliche.
What good does grieving all alone ever do?
Sometimes people are different in the ways they handle trauma and grief, and different coping mechanisms can have different levels of efficacy depending on the... Oh, were you just stating a rhetorical question with no interest whatsoever in the nuance and depth of a possible answer or discussion?
This sin is precious. First and foremost, he's right that different people have different coping mechanisms, but that's not a sin of the episode because Frenchie simply doesn't understand that. Second, are you honestly advocating for the show to completely stop in its tracks and force a discussion about trauma and coping mechanisms that would not fit the characters or situation in the slightest? What is wrong with you, dude? We've seen numerous interactions between these two characters, and they've never been portrayed as a relationship in which that would happen.
He'd take me to Dunkin' on the sly, and he would get me a chocolate cream-filled donut.
Going to Dunkin' for donuts? Dunkin's for...
Skip.
Any place around here without a million bloody cameras.
Introducing this complaint about the age of social media without giving us the slightest idea of how he got past a single one of those million bloody cameras.
Butcher used to be in the SAS, and we've seen his competence plenty of times before, so those of us who have been paying attention to the show were willing to believe he could get in. The most obvious answer to your question of how he did it was that he spent some time doing recon and then simply stayed out of their line of view.
The place that has no cameras looks like the place that needs all the cameras.
Why does this random spot in the middle of nowhere need all the cameras? You're only saying this because, as the audience, you know this spot is where Butcher and Becca meet up.
Well, that's it. Butcher found Becca. Primary plot driver complete. It's been a good 2 seasons. Sad to see the show go, but now that these two have reunited, there's no way to use any other bullshit to continue on.
I mean, this was never the main plot line. The main plot line is combating Vought and the Soups, so this in is pretty dumb.
Ryan can't climb that fence.
Bullshit. We all know kids are excellent climbers. It's part of what makes the threat they pose to society very real.
You think Ryan could climb this fence? I'll wait while you do the math.
Almond Joy?
The second mention of almond joys in this episode is such a clear indication of product placement that it completely takes me out of the reality of a show that has super-powered beings in it.
It's gonna take me a minute to come to terms with the utter stupidity of what was just said. Let me try to capture it. Almond joy is a real thing that exists in the real world. Superheroes and superpowers are not real. And yet, despite this, Discount Jeremy was taken out of the show by the real element rather than the fake element. The math just isn't mathing on this one. I think I need some help. I'm gonna toss this sin over to the Oracle in my basement. Oracle, does Discount Jeremy think almond joys are unrealistic or something?
Smooth. Smooth. You need more. I need more. Oh, you need more.
And you don't.
Okay, you're the boss.
Antiseptic wipes? Really? You haven't noticed any of this?
Thinking that antiseptic wipes are a sign of OCD as opposed to a sign of being a person who just wants to clean their hands.
Okay, but combined with the multiple other things she's noticed, it is. So what's your point?
Just wondering if Homelander is waiting around every corner to kill me.
The comfort at which this human with one of the most recognizable faces in the world has these kinds of conversations at this volume in a public place is baffling.
It's nighttime and there's nobody around.
As legend has it, the top blanket is rarely washed, so they're touching the top blanket while doing the thing in the place that is the main reason you should never touch the top blanket.
That's a sin of real life, not the episode. I hate having to repeat this in almost every video, but it's wild how they forget what they're supposed to be sinning this often.
Wait. I got it.
Starlight uses her internal dimming switch, and now I'm completely confused about her powers. If she pulled energy from the lamp to do this, then the light should return to normal after she stops drawing power. Unless she's continually drawing power from the lamp, which would make the sin Huey not being worried about his Huey.
Starlight's powers are more of a soft power system where there aren't really any hard rules established. From scenes like this, it seems as if her powers extend to a range of abilities, one of which could simply be removing the energy from objects and then never redirecting it. This wouldn't necessarily have any negative effect on Huey, and the show is literally showing us that it doesn't. So why was this sin ever even written?
So he asked me to get one of these with him.
Not having the physical capabilities of pronouncing the word no.
Blaming the victim. Seriously, replace getting a tattoo with having sex, and Discount Jeremy is basically a conservative.
Becca's back already on the same night. How is this not suspicious to the guards? Did the writers just bump up her previously unknown smoking habit to a pack a day?
We've never been given a metric for how much she smokes, so if the show is telling us right now that she smokes enough to make this work, Then she smokes enough to make this work. Why are you questioning this?
Getting urban in an outback. 90% of this episode is pre- and post-coital chats. And all the boys get some except MM.
Okay, and the sin is what exactly? Oh, there wasn't a sin here? Then why did you keep this in the video?
Wasted space. Seriously, you can put like 100 Shake Shacks there.
Jesus, I guess he really is a conservative.
Look, news position is a scourge on all media, but in this single episode of a single TV show, this is now the 6th time a character has received information or motivation via a random news broadcast. Just take the leap, the boys. Do an entire episode that's just news broadcasts. At least that would show a little creativity.
It's hilarious that he tries to claim the news broadcasts show a lack of creativity when they're done to make fun of that same lack of creativity. Jesus, what don't you get about satire?
Mon corps, please.
Deus Mon Curina.
Discount Jeremy still doesn't know what the term Deus Ex Machina means.
When I was a kid, something happened between my family and Vaught, which I'd rather not talk about, but it was bad.
This just feels like the script's way of saying, I don't want to pay myself into a corner in case we get a 3rd season and have to make sure any of this makes sense.
Or it could be someone not wanting to tell a complete stranger about their trauma. I don't know, man. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
He's probably dead by now.
Oh, no.
I just happen to have an outdated form of news delivery here that also just so happens to have the big reveal that's directly related to why you came here.
I mean, did you not hear her story just a second ago? I'd say it would actually be a sin if she didn't have a picture of Stormfront laying around somewhere. That bitch killed her brother, my guy. That's not something you just let go.
It's Liberty.
So Valerie saw Liberty up close because she was in the car and witnessed her brother's murder. But if Liberty was in the public eye enough to be in Budweiser adverts, she must have had enough exposure that other people would recognize her as well.
You'd be surprised. I mean, Liberty used to wear a mask as part of her costume before she became Stormfront, and she wasn't the biggest superhero in the game. She had some fame, but she ended up changing her entire appearance at some point, so it's kind of believable that most normal people wouldn't recognize her. And even if people did, think about how utterly ridiculous they would sound if they claimed that a woman who grew up in Nazi Germany was not only still alive, but also looked young still.
Who knows what Compound V can do?
I know this one. Whatever the the show needs it to do.
I mean, yeah. Compound V isn't real. It only exists because the writers made it exist. This is the problem with TVSins complaining about fictional things serving the purposes of the story. Literally everything that's fictional only exists to serve the story. These characters only exist to serve the story. Vought only exists to serve the story. Superpowers only exist to serve the story. So on and so forth.
Who prepared the meme PowerPoint for Homelander to click through? And why?
It doesn't matter who created it. Probably just a PR person. And the reason is so that Homelander can see what he's up against. How the hell did you not think of that?
Also, I don't like a single one of these memes. Here's a better one I just came up with off the top of my head. Much better, right?
It's false. No way. Not this time.
So I love how the show is like, show a bunch of empty Red Bulls so the audience will know they've been looking through footage for a long time and it won't make this happening at this point in the episode not feel so conveniently timed.
Why is the timing convenient? There are so many sins where he refuses to give any reasoning or evidence for his claims, and I might even agree with his claims if he would just pony up and provide a reason to believe him, but he's lazy so he doesn't.
Also, in a world full of soups, can Red Bull be sued for false advertising? Or does it actually give you wings?
You know what? I actually kind of liked this joke. It was genuinely pretty clever, and this is one of those rare moments where I remember what it used to be like to enjoy CinemaSins before they sold out to mainstream opinions.
Listen, if you're ever in the mood for another Almond Joy...
The title of this episode should have been Almond Joy Presents News Position.
I'm gonna count this as Discount Jeremy Double Dips cliche. It's probably more along the lines of a triple dip, or even maybe a quadruple dip at this point, but I don't feel like counting right now.
We've now found out that these interviews are about finding the Deepa wife, and the only reason we couldn't have known that sooner is so the episode could pretend to be avant-garde or some
Discount Jeremy is jealous that this show knows how to make good jokes on a consistent basis rather than delivering one decent joke every 5 videos or so.
I don't need anyone but myself.
Does that negligee just transform with Doppelganger? Earlier, when he couldn't hold the transformation because he was tired, it was still on him, so doesn't that mean it's an actual physical object? The truth is, we're going to need to see how that negligee looks on every member of the 7 to really suss this out.
Wait, what? We see that Doppelganger has it on before and after his transformation. It just stretches slightly when he becomes Homelander, so what the hell is this sin?
But again, if staying changed takes great effort, as mentioned earlier, how is Doppelganger efforting as a corpse? Shouldn't he have changed back the second his neck was broken? Or was the visual metaphor a bit too important?
you fuck me? That'd fuck me. That'd fuck me so hard.